there are only 3 different ways to actually find work as a photographer when you're traveling. I'm gonna break them all down and the pros and cons and how you can actually find paid gigs. Hey guys, today we're going to talk about travel photography jobs and how photography can make you money on the go. My name is Sam. I'm a photographer with 12 years experience and I teach you business. On today's topic, we are talking traveling photographers, travel photography, and how to actually find jobs and make money. If being a traveling photographer is something that interests you, I have 2 other videos that you might want to check out to get more information. I'm going to focus on ways that you can actually make money on the go and things that you can do to be profitable while you're a traveling photographer. The first way of finding paid work as a photographer while you're traveling is to find work wherever you're going. What that means is you decide where you want to go, you get on a plane, you go there, and when you're there, you find work that's already in this location. The benefit of doing this is that, like anywhere you go, if you already have a niche, if you already have an expertise, you can kind of come down and contact people that are potential clients and offer your services. You can actually even do this before you go to the destination. If you are, for example, a fashion photographer and you are traveling to Portugal, you can look around for locally based fashion brands. You can reach out, you can let them know you're coming, you can let them know when you're there, and you can start a conversation about doing work while you're there. The drawback of this, of course, is that most people already have photographers they work with where they live, or they already have photography going on, but you don't ever know this, right? So I would suggest to do some research to the place that you go in and finding companies that maybe haven't gotten in a great social media presence or the website is not the best yet, and you can actually offer to make a difference. At times, they're not really gonna care that you don't live there, and they might find it interesting if you're visiting from somewhere else and you bring a fresh eye and a different perspective. The drawback of this, of course, is that you are limited to whoever you find where you're going. You're limited to doing the networking in a short period of time, and it might be really, really difficult to make this happen within just one trip. So if you're somebody who wants to find work in one destination and you want to go there and you want to make it work, my suggestion is to pick a place that you want to keep going back to. For me, back in 2017, I was really falling in love with Tulum. I had a lot of friends there. I really loved the vibe, and it was somewhere I wanted to spend time with. So I actually spent 2017 going back and forth and going back to Tulum a lot. Every time I went, I made new connections, I talked to new people, I developed my portfolio, I put in the time to get into the community and do work to help people that were out there, and it didn't take long for the networking to come back to me and for people to start recommending me for jobs. The beauty, of course, of this was that people knew me, people wanted to recommend me, and every time I was coming back, all I would do is reach out to my contacts and say, hey guys, I'm coming back. If you need photos or if you know anybody that needs photos, let them know. So in short, if you're wanting to work in a place that you're going, depending on your niche, you want to reach out to the places before you're going. You want to connect with the community. You could do this on Facebook, you can do this on Instagram, you can do this on LinkedIn, you can do this via email, you can even use Google to research what's around. And I would suggest that the first time you're going, you look to set up connections and do a little bit of collaboration work before you try to get paid. If people don't know you, they're going to be a little bit hesitant to work with you when they could work with somebody that's already there, they might already know. You can also look for hotels, for brands, and for activities or tourism providers that are in the location, and you can see if you can at least exchange some of the services or some of the things that you might want to do anyway for photography. I've done this a lot on my travels, and often this doesn't necessarily result in paid gigs, but it results in saving me money because I was going to do the activities anyway. Why spend a couple of $100s when I could offer my services in exchange? So in a way, it's like getting paid to do the things you wanted to do anyway. The second option to work as a traveling photographer is to actually bring work with you. Now, this is not going to work for every niche. This is going to work mostly for fashion, commercial, product photographers. And what I mean by bringing the work with you is literally reaching out to your network and the people that you already work with at home and offering your services abroad. I've done this when I've gone on trips where I said, hey clients, I am going on a week trip. Would you like your product photographed on a destination? And I would travel with a friend, or I would even photograph the products on myself or hire a model locally and offer them services often priced the same that they would be at home, but abroad. So the benefit for your client in this is that they're getting an immense amount of value and a variety and a different look for their own product in a different destination. For them, it's the same as paying for a shoot at home, but then they get the benefit of it being abroad. And for you, you get to keep making money while you are away. The benefit of this, of course, is that you can maximize your network and you can bring the work with you and you can freely travel and shoot as you go. This is my favorite way to work as a traveling photographer. The drawback often is that you do need to plan ahead, you do need to get higher ahead, and you need to bring the product with you and make time as you're going to make sure that you're shooting this. And of course, you need to have a prior clientele that wants to work with you. If you're finding this video interesting and you want to learn more about being a traveling photographer, you can check out my other video on how to become a traveling photographer. And if you're interested in being a travel photographer and working photographing the places you go and be more of a destination photographer, I have another video for you. I'm gonna link them below, and this could be a good place for you to start. The last way to make money traveling as a photographer is often the easiest way, and it is going with the job where the job is. What do I mean by this? Is that the actual job takes you to a destination and you go with them and they bring you traveling. A couple of ways I've done this has been destination weddings, has been working with retreats, and has been working with travel companies. It is a little bit more difficult to find these jobs, but often they're going to cover the cost of travel, they're going to bring you with you, and if you're lucky enough, you're going to be able to book a flight that is open-ended and continue to stay in a destination. I worked for many years with a retreat company that actually flew me around the world to photograph and teach on their retreats. And what I would do is I would book my own flights and make sure that I left an extra week or two before or after so I could travel the destination myself, and then of course try to find work while I was there. So just to summarize, today we talked about 3 different ways to make money as a traveling photographer. The first way is to find the work where you're going. It's a little bit more difficult because it's going to take more time. You're going to have to network, you're going to have to put yourself out there, you're going to have to reach out and often travel back and forth to the same place a few different times in order to make something happen. The second option is to travel freely, do whatever you want, and actually bring the work with you. Good thing about that is, of course, you have the freedom, you work on your own, and you can get creative as you go. The problem with this is you have to have a prior clientele, you have to pitch the work before you go, and you have to hope to line up enough clients to bring with you to make it worth your while. Of course, with these 2 options, you are funding the traveling yourself, and you're having to kind of come up with the money and be able to afford it on your own before you get the work and before you get paid. And the last option that we talked about is actually going to the destination and traveling with the actual job itself. The good thing about this, like I said, is they're usually covering your costs, they're traveling with you, they're bringing you with you, everything is sorted, and you just kind of go and shoot. The problem with this is that it's often not as flexible as the travel that we imagine. We don't have the freedom to go out and create on our own, and oftentimes we don't really have the ability to change how things are. I've done jobs like this with retreats, with travel show, I've done this with weddings, and often you kind of have a start date and an end date, but of course there was no money coming out of my pocket. I was paid for the travel, I was paid for the work, my expenses were covered, and it was in and out, and I got to travel and shoot without spending a penny. So that's the video for today. I've given you 3 different ways you can find jobs and make money while traveling as a photographer. I hope this was helpful. I hope it gave you a bit of an insight into the different ways that you can make this work, and it took the myth a little bit away out of what it seems like it looks like on the internet for people that travel and do photography as a job. If this was interesting to you and you want to learn more about it, I have 2 other videos on traveling photography and being a travel photographer that might be interested to you. They'll be linked below, and as always, if you have questions, leave it in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks so much for being here today, and I'll see you next time.